Alright, welcome to the Nocks Nature YouTube channel. Today is a very exciting day for two reasons. Number one, obviously, brand new bow build, but it's also the first episode of our YouTube channel. So before we get into the bow build, I want to give a little bit of an explanation as to what the YouTube channel is going to be about. So if you're just here for the bow build, feel free to skip ahead. I'll try to put the time up on the screen so that you know where the bow build starts. But if you're curious about the channel, basically, the premise behind what we're doing here today and in further videos, if you listen to the podcast, you hear us talk a lot about all of these different strategies and different tactics, gear, all the stuff that we use, and there's no visual element to that. And so what we wanted to do was essentially have the practice what you preach concept. And so if the podcast is the preaching, the YouTube is going to be the practicing. So we're going to be demonstrating that with the bow build. There's probably going to be some gear nerd stuff specifically around Quiver, but I'm sure we'll find some other things. Justin's got a fun bow build coming up, which we'll get into in a later video. And yeah, we kind of just wanted to bring a different element to the Nocks Nature stuff, different type of content. With that said, let's get into the bow build. I want to do a quick rundown of the things that I have, why I'm running it, and we're going to start with the bow. So the bow itself, this is the Mathews Lift RS, obviously new for 2025. I suppose 27 3/4 inches axle to axle. It's set up right now at 29-inch draw length and 70 pounds. So it's perfect setup for me. I am going to run 80-pound mods eventually, but I'm very impatient and wanted to get the bow build done rather than wait for the mods to come in. So they're on order, but they'll be here later. We're going to have to rearrange things anyway, because other than the bow, I was going to shoot the Hamskea Epsilon rest, and then actually until I got the bow here, I realized that we don't have enough room here to run that Epsilon rest. So we're probably going to have to end up running the Q80 or something similar. For today, we have this very old Ripcord Code Red that is going to work, maybe, for us. But we do get enough clearance here. We're going to have to move that and play with it. So that's our beautiful rest for today. If you guys know anything about my Traverse, you know that I'm a huge fan of the Beereal Grip. So this is the new 2.0. This grip is replacing the Engage grip of the Mathews, which is not a bad grip by any means. I just like having the square back and the skinnier neck on it. It helps me index better. It's just something that I'm used to, so I figured I'd keep that with this bow. We of course have the stay afield system. This is how we're going to be building the bow without the bow press. So I've never done it before. We're going to kind of learn together. We do have a bow press just in case this doesn't work or we get into a sketchy spot, but hopefully that works just well. For stabilizers, I'm running the Shrewd Vantage stabilizers. So I have a 12 and a 9 blacked out. I really, really like the Shrewd carbon, specifically the Vantage stuff. These have been good stabilizers. I ran them for a while on the Traverse because we change stuff all the time. So Shrewd stuff with that. This is the UV Slider. So for you guys who grew up with similar bows to what I did, this was the bow sight off of my first bow. So we've got these little pins, and for the younger people watching, you've probably never seen anything like this. But this pin slides up and down, and then you can move it in and out with this screw. There's another set screw to hold it in place. And it's a very inefficient system. So you may have grown up shooting something like a True Glow, carbon excess sight or something like that. But this is miles and miles ahead of that. I went with the UV Slider because it was the cheapest way to get the UV scope that I wanted. There's been a lot of good things said about the slider. There's been some criticism. There's a lot more criticism with the updated version, which is why I went with the Gen 1. But it was on sale. If I hate it, you guys would be the first ones to know, believe me. But we're going to give it a shot. And lastly, we've got the Mathews Detachable Low Pro Quiver. I went with this over the tight spot literally just because it matches the bow. I don't have anything against the tight spot. I'm not a huge fan of running everything branded. You know, I don't have to run a Mathews stabilizer or Mathews Quiver on this bow. Definitely not running the stabilizers, but I liked that it matched the bow. That's pretty much that. We also have a Hamskea Raptor Peep and a nose button in here that we'll be putting on as well. But other than that, we're ready to start putting stuff on. So I'm going to start with the grip here. If you've never put on a different grip to your Mathews bow, in prior years you had to peel the rubber engage grip off and remove all of the adhesive. But they've changed that this year because this is more of a plastic type of grip, holds its shape better, and it's just friction fit. So it comes right off, and the Beereal Grip will slide right onto that. Also friction fit. There's little rubber keepers on the inside here that help keep that on the bow. So once that is set, there we go. We're all set up. Super, super steep shelf for those Jesse Broadwater guys that like to shoot way out here. But they got rid of the hot spots that the old grip had. They added the rubber, which I think is a nice touch, and kept the square, flat back shape. So it's very comfortable. If you ask me, Justin may not like it as much. Let's put the rest on. So this needs to be slid over to be able to get, and it just barely clears too. Slammed forward, get it as close to perpendicular as possible. We do not have a whole lot there. You have to run this pretty much all the way over, and I honestly don't know if I'm still gonna, I don't know if I can even get my center shot out of that. Alright, so we got a bow square here. I don't typically use a bow square just because I like to have, I like setting up the bows horizontal to where the string is laying flat in the press. Obviously the point of today is to not have to use a press. I'm going to take a knee here to get on down. I don't even know if I can get. That's all the way down. There we go. So with it all the way down, we have no adjustment up and down for the rest. So hopefully we don't have a high tear. We're going to be moving some things. This rest is temporary though, so I guess there's that. Okay. Knock point is set. Rest is set, I guess, whatever. That's actually neat. I didn't know it could do that. So we're going to take this out actually. So we're going to be messing with the limbs bending, and I don't want to do any of that with it in there. Okay, we have the stay field system attached. We can now split the serving and set our peep sight into the string here. So this is struggling to get this little blue thing out. Okay, so now this is coming underneath here. Just like that. we have Peep sight in the bow. All right, so let's, well, since we're here, let's put on this guy. Not sure exactly where this is going to sit, but we'll be able to at least draw with the nose button. D-loop. 2 of them apparently. Okay, so there's probably 900,000 videos on YouTube on how to tie in a D-loop, but there's really just one thing to remember, and that is to alternate which side of the string your knots are on. And I'll show you what that looks like. But essentially what we're going to do is we want to have the D-loop sit straight back from the bow. And then when we pull on the D-loop itself, it's going to also pull the Peep sight straight. So we're going to tie that in such a way that it does so. And my hands are shaking pretty bad. Probably shouldn't have drank that Celsius before this, but it's okay. I'm going to set this one. The Peep sight, it wants to naturally rotate to the right, so I'm going to put my first knot to the right of the string. And that should hopefully help pull that over. Over. And through again. So, when you do this, you still want to have a little bit of space for your knock in there. There's a lot of guys that will put a couple wraps of serving in there and just kind of tie in a small knock point. I don't like doing that because I want to keep as much weight off of that string as I can, but I do understand why they do it. This is backwards. It's gonna bug me. One of these days I'll get it right. Put this guy in here. Make sure it has just a little bit of wiggle room. And then pull this tight. Stick these guys in there. Open that up slightly. Going to take our wee little scissors. Burn this here end. That should give us pretty good D-loop there. Didn't like that. Okay, feel pretty confident about that. Yeah, there you go. So we've got quite a bit of room actually between that bottom knot slipped a little bit, so this Peep sight really wants to twist. So I'm going to wrap, and this is the other advantage when you're building your own bow, is you can tie things in however you want to. So I'm going to tie this Peep sight in, and I'm going to wrap the serving this way to help pull this around and keep it in line with our D-loop. I'm going to start here. So I'm going to get this kind of just not super tucked in there, but enough to where it's not going to want to come out. And then we're going to wrap this way. Now, if you want to not have your string rotate as you wrap. Levi Morgan actually shows a trick of bringing your tag end up for one of the rotations and then bringing it back down, and that will help not rotate it over, but obviously that's what we're trying to do. So we're gonna just keep on wrapping. Get to the end here. I'm gonna hold this up, pull our tag line back, wrap this guy a few times around. Very difficult to do at this angle. Hold these tight. Maybe. There we go. Do a nice little stack up there. Sounds like it's right. This lighter is running out of fuel. Cool. So just going to do the same thing on the other side here. Pull that one over. Much cleaner on the bottom. So you'll notice that I just go above and below. That's actually on purpose for a few reasons. Number one, I don't like the look of the serving walking down the Peep sight. We are going to put a knot around the Peep sight just a little bit to help hold the sides in. But as far as the top and bottom goes, we're going to try to rotate the string over on either side. And that's a lot easier to do when you could rotate these opposite of each other if you were trying to cancel it out. We're still going to have Peep rotation. I can already tell. Just do a half here. Sit on there. Okay, Peep side is in, D-loop is in, nose button is chilling. Let's throw some stabilizers on. I'm going to save this sight for last. We'll start with the Atlas V-bar. We need one thing that is really nice from Shrewd. They have a cutout in the V-bar so it sits flat against the riser, which I think is really, really cool. I'm not sure if that was done specifically for the Mathews bows, because I know manufacturers get frustrated with Mathews sometimes as their stuff is always different from everyone else, but that would be really cool. Crank. Now I set this up at home pretty close to where I normally run my stabilizers. So there might be a little bit of tweaking, but for now we don't have to mess with that. For anyone curious, I have 2 degrees down and I think, yeah, 4 degrees out. It's pretty gradual. I know some guys run this. Some guys run this bar straight back. Some guys run it almost straight down as well. But should work for what we're doing here. Okay. So this is our 15-inch. Yikes. This is the 12-inch, sorry. And we got this little damper at the end. I don't know how much that's going to do, but they're trying at least. This, look how long this is. You could put ounces, you could put a pound of weight on here. Oh. You probably fit, I don't know if you could get 16 on there, but you could get close. Still going. Paint on those things. Inside the threads, I hate that. Mm-hmm. So for reference, that's 2 ounces. You could fit a ton on here. And shalabba-dabba-ding-dong. I think the stabilizer's taller than the bow. Okay. Number 2 here. If I can get this started. It's looking pretty good. I think we're gonna start right there. So with that damper though, and the quick disconnect out the front, we've got almost 15 inches in the front. It's pretty, that's a pretty crazy setup as far as the bow goes itself. Okay, now for the big reveal. I don't know why they send a travel case. I don't know who's taking their bow, taking the sight off of their bow to be able to travel, but it's cool, I guess. You got a bunch of stuff. Let's set this first. So this, first we gotta take this piece of foam out. Don't cut yourself on the pins. Bring this up. It's 20 yards. Dead stop. Okay. So there's that. And this is getting mounted right through here. I actually haven't even decided where I want the, I guess what do we got? We got 3 options. So we'll run it probably smack dab in the middle. Whoa, that bow is front heavy. We are definitely going to be moving some weight to the back here. But it's looking pretty good. All right, let's get the quiver on. We'll get a look at the whole thing here. I don't think that's gonna, nope. So the one thing I have noticed, I did mount the hardware prior to this, and the one thing I have noticed is it is a little bit tricky to make sure that this quiver is all the way down, and then got to kind of shimmy it in there. So there it is, minus a temporary rest. We are all set up. I'm going to do a little half hitch on this guy. I think we're ready to put an arrow in it. So let's take it outside. Okay, so the bow is finally done. I did not go through the process of filming the rest. I will show you what's going on with it.
So right here, there's a little screw, and I know the lighting's not the best. We're outside and it's sunny. I'm under the canopy right now, but that's all it is. And so it's just set. There's a little line when you go to put the rest on, and we just set that to dead center, right? It's zeroed out. And then we split the cable and put the string through rather than using a football clamp. This is all possible with the stay afield system like we showed in the video before. So it's pretty cool that you can build a bow completely without a bow press. We're gonna see how much tuning needs to be done. Again, we do have limb shift technology on this bow. And while we're here, we may as well just go through things quickly as a refresher. So Mathews Lift RS, it's currently at 70 pounds. It's got 70-pound mods on it, 29-inch draw. We have a Hamskea Raptor Peep here. We have a Bowmar nose button that I also tied on. I redid my D-loop, and even this one is fraying, so I think that the knock angle or possibly something with my release is tearing that up, so that's definitely something to keep an eye on. This is the UV slider. I do have the sight-in tape, or the temporary tape. I'm not exactly sure what they call this, but that's on there right now. I have shot this bow a little bit, so it's been shooting good. I've shot it out to 60 yards and found roughly what the sight tape is, but we're gonna tune it and double check everything. Again, Shrewd Vantage stabilizers. We have the Atlas V-bar and the quick disconnect. XO limb legs. Right, there it is. This is the Mathews Low Pro Detachable Quiver. And this thing's adjustable, which helped me out a lot because it was very tight when I first got it. It was difficult to put on. And of course the Beereal 2.0 grip. So I'm gonna move the camera. I have a very high-tech paper tuning system, which of course I say with sarcasm, but we are going to shoot this thing through paper and see what happens. Obviously not very high-tech with this 2x4 right here, but it gets the job done. Let's knock one up and see what happens here. Okay, so that is pretty interesting. Okay, so as you can see, we have a slight low tear to this. It's pretty dang close to a bullet hole. So I'm going to move the rest just slightly, and we're going to make just the smallest adjustment, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we have a slight side tear there. That could have just been me, so I'm gonna shoot that one again. Finding a lot of inconsistencies here, so I'm not sure if that is me or if it's the bow. Okay, so this can get a little bit confusing. If we take a look at these here, this is what's known as a left tear. And it's contrary to the first tear we had here. This would be a right tear, this would be a left tear. And basically what that means is the knock is left of where the arrow actually started into the paper. This here is as close to a bullet hole as we've had, but I'm assuming this was a fluke because it was the first shot. So we have two right tears in a row, focusing on making the best shot I could. And so we're going to make an adjustment to our limb shift technology. There's a small screw right here inside of this little pocket, and that is connected to the axle that the cam rotates on. Because we have a right tear, we want to push the limb slightly to the left, or the cam slightly to the left. And so what I'm going to do is take this Allen wrench, both top and bottom, and just give it about a half a turn. We're going to shoot again and see what happens. Now that is a lot more of what we're looking for here. Very, very, very close to a bullet hole. I'm gonna shoot again and see if we can get a little bit more. I think it is actually a slight right tear now, which would be similar to this. That's a lot more exaggerated than this one, but the entrance point appears to be slightly left of where the veins entered the paper. All right, that is a lot more like a bullet hole. I really, really like that. I'm gonna try to shoot one more about right there, and if we get similar results to these two, we're gonna call that good. That was 100% me. I flinched very hard on that shot. Let's move over here. Now, I would credit a lot of this to inconsistencies within my own shooting. This is a newer bow, and so I don't have the repetition I have with my other bow, but we are still very close. There we go. There we go. The bow is tuned. The only thing left to do is to sight it in, get our sight tape, and start shooting 100 yards. All right, so the bow is now tuned. It's ready to be sighted in. I'm extremely excited for this bow. It is exactly what I wanted when I was looking for a new bow. I was reluctant for several years to actually purchase something. And the whole reason I was reluctant to purchase something is because I wanted to make sure it was exactly what I needed. I didn't want to replace something that worked just fine if it wasn't going to be a genuine improvement. And that didn't just mean performance. Performance is just one piece to a bigger puzzle that is the bow itself. And so I wanted to make sure that there were further advancements in all of technology, not just performance within the limbs, but performance in cam technology, the grip, the difference in weight between the two bows, the size, and being able to stretch that distance on your arrows due to the fact that this bow will be 80 pounds when it comes to deer hunting. Now, as far as the 80-pound mods go, I had them on order, or so I thought, and there was an employee that either forgot to order them or somehow messed up ordering them. Anyway, they are officially on order now, and if something happens, whatever, I will end up purchasing them, probably just from Lancaster Archery. So all of that was extremely long-winded, and I do apologize. But I do want to take a chance right now to shout out our podcast. So if you are unaware, we do host a podcast called Nocks Nature. You can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon. It's all over the place, as well as a bunch of different streaming platforms. If you enjoy this type of content, chances are you're going to enjoy the podcast. And we talk about a bunch of different things. It's not just bow hunting, it's not just archery. It is pretty heavy in those things, as Justin and I are pretty involved with that and really enjoy it. But we also have Jared on the podcast, who has not been on the channel, but Jared brings a unique perspective because he's not as obsessed with bow hunting or archery as Justin and I are. Even though he does shoot a bow, he also really enjoys things like skiing and backpacking, and those are topics that we also cover on the podcast. So everything from discussion about work boots and what makes a good pair of boots to archery and getting into the nitty-gritty of tuning your bow, those are all things that we cover. So if you enjoy that kind of thing, I would highly recommend you check out our podcast. Okay, so after editing the first portion of this video, I still wanted to have some shooting in the video. So obviously, you could probably tell by my hair. Sorry, bud. We are a couple months after actually setting up the bow. So we're gonna get some images, some videos of the lift shooting in action. We're just at about, what, 20 yards here? Something like that?
Yeah, we can get 30 out of it, but.
So we're gonna do a little bit of shooting, potentially shoot against each other. Justin came to play. He brought out the whole setup. So
I did.
We'll see what happens, but let's fling some arrows.
21 yards. Yeah, I'll shoot another one. I'm gonna take these limb legs off, see if that makes a difference. I think that was a little bit left.
Yeah, good up and down. Just,
Yeah.
just a little left.
Keep it tight. Did that punch it?
Oh yeah, good shot.
Nice. All right, well. All right, that's 3 arrows down with the lift. Let's see what Justin can do with that.
All right. Oh, Jesus. Snap, crackle, pop. Little low.
It's gonna be very hard to determine whose is whose.
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot for the other one next time, I guess.
There is the far bottom one, it looks like, is yours. Mine have the red Nocks.
Yeah, mine's definitely low. Like, I'm gonna shoot for that bottom circle.
Far bottom. Nice. You're like 5 o'clock, maybe a ½ inch off.
Yeah. All right, one more.
See if you can rip that tiny one. Super tiny circle.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
A little bit right.
Yeah, just like maybe an inch right.
Not bad. Prime.
When was the last time you actually shot compound?
It was tack. Or no, did we shoot Northwoods after that? Yeah.
Northwoods was after.
Northwoods. So after the Northwoods, I pretty much put it down and started shooting my trad bow.
So it's been a month since you shot.
A solid month. And
it's not too bad.
not bad. Dude, look how much farther yours bury in there compared to mine.
That is pretty wild.
That's insane. This is your hunting arrow though, isn't it?
That's a hunting arrow.
Okay, that makes sense.
The other one is your 3D setup?
Yeah, this is my 3. It's only 400 grains.
Right.
You know, 100 grain point, not a lot of FOC.
Can you get those things out of there?
Yeah.
You know, the other thing too is like, that's my finger for comparison. You're only off by maybe an inch and a half.
Right.
It was really not a bad shot, even though it was a little bit to the right.
Not bad. We're just getting warmed up.
So not an ideal setup as far as range goes today. Typically we can stretch this a little bit further, but because we're using the camera, we can't get quite the yardage we can. Someday we'll have some long distance shots for sure. We are just a little bit under 20 yards here. So we're gonna play some follow the arrow. So we'll shoot a couple of shots and then I'll move the camera to the target. You wanna lead us off?
Sure.
All right, we're gonna try to shoot through that AC noise because it is like 900,000 degrees outside and we don't want to turn it off.
It's a cool, oh, I don't have my watch on.
Do you want to go?
I think it's 90.
Yeah, I think it is actually too. When I drove through Bel Air, it said 90.
Yeah.
Let's see how close I can get to your arrow.
Are you off to the right?
I'm like 5 o'clock. If your arrow's right in the center. Right above mine. That might have broke something.
That sounded expensive.
That did sound expensive. A little low.
A little low.
Oh man.
Dude, I can't see with the glare.
I'm right underneath your arrow.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I can get that.
Shoo!
I got one more. I'll put it on the circle and then you can shoot it.
All right. Yeah, the guy that goes first kind of gets screwed.
Yeah, far tiny right, whatever. If I put it in the center of the circle, you shouldn't be able to hit it, so. My Peep was twisted again. I'm way low. Way low.
I don't know if you know this, Nick, but you're talking to top 5 finisher at Northwoods Archery Challenge.
That's right.
And yes, I will rub that in until I die. Wow.
Way left?
Yeah.
There was just a little bit of carnage on that. That's what you get for playing follow the arrow. At least it didn't hit your carbon though.
Right.
All right, here we go. A little high. Check out how far these limbs flex, it's pretty crazy. Okay, not too bad of shots. I mean, granted, we're like 15, 16 yards, so I would expect to be relatively good, but we're all, I'd say within, that's probably within a ½ inch. Same with that one, that's probably within an inch. So, everything within an inch, I'm pretty happy with that. Nice.
Are those Mathews flip-flops?
These are not, these are Birkenstocks, actually. All right, well, that's going to do it for today's video. We appreciate everyone for watching. Don't forget to check out the podcast. Again, Nocks Nature. You can find that Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Spotify, obviously. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see some more, feel free to subscribe, leave a like. If you guys have any suggestions or any video ideas, things that you want to see us cover, feel free to put them in the comments below. We're open to all kinds of suggestions. We, of course, have crazy ideas of our own, but we are always looking and open to trying out a whole bunch of different things. That's going to conclude my 2025 bow build. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We're going to be getting into Justin's target bow build, actually. So
I'm changing my hunting setup and my target setup, so
right,
be fun.
So brand new target setup bow build coming soon. That one will use a bow press, but everything that we had to do with the lift to set everything up, we did not need a bow press for. So I think that's a win for the hunting community.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
We're headed in a direction where we don't need to rely on pro shops as much. You would need a press if you're going to swap cams or limbs or something like that, but just to get the bow set up yourself, you can be pretty independent. So anything else to add?
I don't think so.
All right, we appreciate everyone for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.